Why did S&P and Fitch rating agencies decide to keep South Africa out of junk status? And of what importance is collaboration between government, business and labor? How is the economy's contraction in the first quarter likely to affect consumers? And why do economists say the reform of state-owned enterprises is crucial to avoid downgrades? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tsedu. Latest figures from Stats SA indicate that the country's economy contracted by 1.2% in the first quarter of this year. Poor performance by the mining sector as well as agriculture, forestry and fishing being in a recession are said to have contributed to the decline. This comes in the wake of two global rating agencies, S&P and Fitch, having decided not to downgrade the economy, with S&P maintaining its negative outlook. National Treasury says the next 6 months are critical for the country. Measures to boost the economy as well as visible reform of state-owned enterprises remain key on future decisions by rating agencies. We are live, and therefore you can call us and air your views. The numbers to dial 089 4210, our Twitter handle at Question Time 24. My guest today is Kes Kovadia. He's the Managing Director at the Banking Association of South Africa. And joining us from our Pretoria studios is Dr. Padilo Hotla. He's the Statistician General of South Africa. Let me welcome you, both gentlemen. Kes,
thank you.
The decision not to dump South Africa into that other status was welcome. You part of among the institutions that said, well, indeed, good news, but how does it affect me?
Well, if we do get downgraded to that level, to junk status, it means that there are certain investment funds that, according to the rules, cannot actually invest in a country that's got junk status. They would have to stop investing. It makes loans where we have to borrow money, it makes that more difficult to get and makes it more expensive. And there's a reputational issue. If you look at countries that have been downgraded to that status, they've had significant economic problems subsequently, and it takes between 1 and 7 years to actually get out of that. What does it mean for the person in the street? Well, it means that we're not getting economic growth. It means money becomes more expensive. You have to tighten up on credit. The already slow economy, and we've seen the GDP figures for the first quarter, becomes even more sluggish because we cannot actually get investment in. We cannot borrow money at the rate we borrow now to actually inject into the economy. And as a result of that, consumers cannot purchase, price of goods go up, and all sorts of knock-on effects. And so it has a significant impact on the people on the street. I'm
going to ask you what may appear to be a rhetorical question, and perhaps some may say I'm just rubbing this just on the surface. But who are these agencies? I mean, why on earth do we have to be bothered by some agencies from far away to come and tell us that we are not worth any salt?
Well, I think that's a fair question. And if you look at the financial crisis of 2008, 2009, some of the rating agencies called it very wrong. They rated some of the securitized mortgage loans as AAA ratings, and those loans were actually bad. But having said that, we are part of the global economy. In the global economy, rating agencies are seen to be institutions that study economies, that study environments, and their opinions are given quite a lot of weight by investors and by others. And so, love them or hate them, they are a reality, and we have to take their considerations into account, because those that we deal with in the global economy take their ratings very, very seriously.
So how possible is it that they are captured themselves?
I don't think so. I think that there are regulations coming into place. We're looking at regulation in this country to actually oversee rating agencies in some way or other. But we can raise all those sorts of questions. The bottom line is that we are facing a particular set of circumstances in this country, and we'd better deal with those.
Fitch says some risk factors, whether individually or collectively, could trigger negative rating action, and one of them, failure of GDP growth to recover sustainably, for example, due to lack of policy changes to improve the investment climate. I want to talk to you about that. How likely, indeed, are we to face this type of a scenario?
Well, I don't talk in terms of likelihoods. I'm a statistician, and of course you can talk about probabilities going forward. But I'm one who measures with a rear view mirror, or looking at the back. So we've got the GDP coming in at negative 1.2 quarter on quarter and negative 0.2 year on year, following on a quarter that was 0.4%. So the growth is very low indeed, and the sectors that drag this is mining, agriculture, fisheries and like. And the sectors that showed some promise were also very lackluster in terms of growth. I can't say what the GDP will be in the next quarter. We will see it when we get there. What the rating agencies consider, of course, if the growth is negative or very, very low growth, it adds to the contingent risk in society. So, but I wouldn't say what the growth would be. I suppose they follow specific rules of procedure, contingent, and that those rules look at the data. What we can assure you and the South Africans and the rating agencies is that the methods of calculation of our data are of high quality and high standards. I know countries that have not been able to provide good data, good quality data, such as Greece or Argentina, where then, of course, there become problems of the integrity of the information. In South Africa, the information has high integrity. The Statistician General has independence in terms of production of the numbers, and there is no political interference. In fact, it is prohibited by law.
Now, Ndatelosa, the GDP recovery, is it guaranteed? Are you able to say to us the GDP will improve in the next 6 to 12 months, or what is the case? Or are we going to be standing the risk to be downgraded come this 6 months period that we've been granted?
I wish I could guess. I wish I could say it will be 20%. I wish it could be double digit. I wish I could do that. Unfortunately, I can't because I measure and say this is the GDP. We also produce short-term indicators monthly, such as retail, manufacturing, like I released the results of manufacturing today. And under trades, it will be motor trade, and electricity consumption, and all those are numbers that can be inspected, looked at by those who have the power to predict and suggest whether GDP will grow or not going forward.
Are we at risk of heightened political instability that can adversely affect the economy or public finances?
Well, unfortunately, I don't measure political heat or political ice, and that's the problem. So it's very difficult for me to assess that kind of situation. But what we do objectively is to measure the population, employment, unemployment, crime, and all those we do measure. And they may give indications as to whether the country is in trouble or not in trouble. The trends, for instance, in crime show that they are stable, albeit at a level that is not that good, at a level that is high. And of course, the crimes are vicious. Unemployment increased sharply by about 2 percentage points, and increasing already at a high level. We have a 26.7 unemployment rate, largely of the youth, who are 2/3 of this. If you bring expanded unemployment, is 75% of those who are unemployed. These are the numbers that we could provide, and those who are social scientists may then, or students of politics, may then say, well, it looks like these are problem times.
Okay. Hold it there. I want us to take a quick break. When we return, let's look at what needs to happen between now and December from business side and from government to avoid being downgraded. For now, we're taking a quick break. When we return, we'll be taking your call. 089-110-4210 is the number to dial. This Question Time.
Africa is growing. As a result, it's also advancing the way it does things.
Any developments in technology can really do a lot to boost growth.
On Network, we'll show you how technology is improving the lives of Africans.
The life of an LED globe is 15 times longer than what they have currently.
We also have new gadgets, games, and the continent's innovative technology ideas. That's Network with me, Siphumelele Zondi, every Sunday at 19:30 Central African Time.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. Our guest today is Cas Kuvadia. He's the Managing Director at the Banking Association of South Africa. From our Pretoria studios in Dadipadi Lehotla, he is the Statistician General of South Africa. Now, Cas, let's look at what needs to happen between now and December, because it would appear to me South Africa has been given this grace period. Let's see how you behave, then we'll come back and tell you what we think of you in December.
Yeah, and let me just say, we don't need the rating agencies to tell us what we need to do. We know what to do.
Okay.
And we've known what to do for a long time. What do we need to know? On the business side, business has gotten together, and not just business organizations, but chief executive officers, the people who take the decisions and put the resources on the table. And we are saying that as business, we need to, one, promote small, medium enterprises, and so we are in the process of finalizing an equity fund for small and medium enterprises that we will announce soon. There's a team working on there are investment professionals from both the PIC and the banks working with chief executives in mining, in construction, in agriculture, to identify real investment projects that we can actually invest in, and that work is ongoing and announcements will be made. And we want to continue sending out, despite the problems we have, a positive message that says that if we work together as South Africans, we can address our issues. On the government side, I mean, Pali said that in the 1.2% reduction in GDP, mining contracted 18%. We've got to see that as a crisis. We've got to now say that what do we need to do to send out a message of confidence that we are going to address outstanding issues in the mining sector. We should be putting to bed the mining charter debate. We should be putting to bed the minerals bill debate. We should be developing a different type of compact between business and labor so that we all understand what we both need to do to grow this economy in an inclusive way. We need to send out clear messages from government that we are going to take care of the governance issues in state-owned enterprises. Business has offered its services. has offered capacity that is needed.
What are the concerns in as far as the state-owned enterprises?
Well, state-owned enterprises are critical to economic growth. So if you look at Transnet, if you look at Eskom, you look at SAA, these are institutions that are critical to the growth of the economy in South Africa. If these institutions either do not have appropriate governance structure, the appropriate management, and are not actually delivering what they need to deliver, it has a significant negative impact on the economy. On the other hand, if business and government and labor work together to say what sort of governance structures do we need, what sort of management do we need, what sort of mandates do these institutions need, and then they must operate according to those mandates, be accountable and deliver, it has a significant impact on economic growth. So these are institutions that are funded by taxpayers' money. Taxpayers must look for accountability from these institutions, and we should all work together to ensure that that happens. So I think that we do need to, both business, government, and labor need to send out messages that the critical issue for this country is inclusive growth at levels that can be sustained over a period of time, that can begin to address unemployment, inequality, and poverty. And that's got to be the critical message, and we've got to work together to do that.
Datelosa.
That is it. Sorry.
Yes. No, it's okay. It's okay. Fitch says that GDP growth remains low, which we agree, saying it is likely to slow to just 0.7% in 2016 before recovering to 1.5% in 2017. And I quote, it said here, growth is held back by constrained electricity supply, concerns about the deteriorating investment climate, and fractious labor relations, close quote.
Yes, I think let me come in at a different angle. If you look at the continent of Africa, the Southern Africa part of it has very high price level indices. Egypt has very low price indices, price level indices, and the Eastern Coast does also have very low price level indices. So South Africa is faced with a very difficult situation in terms of price levels. And price levels determine the level of investment, the attractiveness to investment. And of course, South Africa has the best infrastructure on the continent, comparable to other sophisticated countries. Now, the price level indices suggest to us that South Africa is an expensive destination. And it impacts on the SADC region. We have done this work, and I think this is something that has to be remembered at all times, that there are competitors that have price level indices that are lower, such as Egypt. One of the things that has happened as a consequence of that is that South Africa is the third largest economy from being a first position. And in part, and in greater part, is because of the price level indices, because the rand or a unit of currency in Egypt will buy you a lot more than it does in South Africa. And those price level indices are watched a lot by those who decide on investments. So I think we should think about that. Secondly, there are 1,000 products that we have measured across the world and on the continent as well of Africa, from meal to meat, to expenditure on health, household expenditure on health, on education, and all those, and 1,000 products, including buying of cars and so on. Okay. And on the basis of that, we can compare prices and demand. And I think South Africa should look in that direction. Okay, hold it there. Let's take a call from Durban. Ayanda, you are on the line. Welcome.
I'm Paul. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for the call, Ayanda.
Thanks, Paul, and good evening to your guest. First, Paul, I think you should have perhaps brought at least someone from government to give us maybe a proper or an explanation as to what are they going to do after the report by these rating agencies. But my question is about this political arena, is to put your guest there as to what impact could the political arena in particular, and these ongoing protests around the country that also include political decision making. Okay. What impact would that put to our status being downgraded?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayanda. Thank you very, very much for that question. And right now, I welcome one of my colleagues, Frances Head. She's actually she's the master when it comes to issues of business and money. Frances, welcome to Question Time.
I don't know about that, but thank you for having me.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, I have two questions. You know what's so interesting to me, Paul, is that ordinary people who didn't used to think about macroeconomics are now so interested in this country because it's starting to affect us all. Mm-hmm. And people are starting to be interested in the jargon around rating agencies and things like that. Mm-hmm. Maybe for you, Paddy, somebody asked me recently, and these are the simple questions. Economic data came out and it was shocking, a contraction in the first 3 months of 1.2 quarter on quarter. How did we not know that? And I guess you crunch the numbers, Paddy, but other people make predictions. The predictions were so wrong, and we have all these financial companies already giving their finances. Should we not have seen something like this coming, I guess is my question.
Well, I do not know what methods they use, but ours are very transparent, and we have a very long time series that covers probably in excess of 80 years of calculation of performance of the economy, or prices, or population growth. So I really do not know what methods they use, but you shouldn't exclude from these kinds of activities the matter of self-interest, because the people who calculate are also active in the market. Therefore, self-interest does temper with what they might predict or fail to predict. So it's and we know that the 2008 crisis was in part concealed, or at least was not very transparent in terms of those who were acting in that space. So we, as statisticians who are disinterested and dispassionate about these things, have a particular process by which we measure, and others can always come and check how we measure.
Okay, and those predictions were just way off, Paul. And maybe a quick question for you, Kaz, and I think you've touched on a lot of this already, but people want to know to what extent is what's going on in our control. We know that world growth is slowing, that China has problems, but we also know these rating agencies talk about uncertainty in our own policies here. The finance minister talking about how long it takes to get some paperwork done, and we know that small businesses are where we should be growing those jobs. Are you willing to venture to what extent are we to blame? Maybe as South Africans, as government, put it where you like, but how much is in our control?
Look, I think there is a lot that is in our control. I mean, we can do far better, as I said, on state-owned enterprises, and those are things that's within our control. I think it's got to be in the interest of the country for those institutions to work. This isn't politics, this is pure economics. Those institutions have got to work. In any business, you'd have the right governance structures, you'd have the right management in place, and that's what we've got to do. I think we've got to get rid of a lot of the red tape. I was in Kigali recently for the Africa World Economic Forum. I mean, they've done it there. You can register business on the internet in a couple of days, okay? There's no reason why we can't do it here. So I think that we need to be much more clearer in our policy direction. We need to be much more certain once we've actually agreed on policies and started implementing them. We need to be smarter about how we implement those policies. I think the pact between government, business, and labor needs to be far more dynamic. And I think we need to recognize each other's roles. I think this thing about, why should business ask for this or why should government not do this, those days are gone. We've got a few months. In those few months, we should be coming together and putting SA Inc. topmost of the agenda. We should be putting national interest topmost of the agenda, and we should be asking what inhibits inclusive growth. Whatever inhibits inclusive growth has got to go. And whatever promotes inclusive growth has got to be put on the table.
She knows much better about business, and this is the end of our business for today. Dadelotla, thank you very much for your time. Francis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
indeed.
you.
Thank you very much.
And that was question time for today. And have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.